As human beings, we like narrative. Narrative helps us make sense of the world. Narrative also helps us make sense of politics to some degree. And if we don't hear the narrative, we typically make it up in our own mind. And this can cause some problems, some binary thinking, because even in politics, we often think, well, if we don't like the left, then the right has obviously got to be good, or vice versa. If we don't like the right, the left has obviously got to be good. And I kind of like to think about it as an up and down, uh, meaning the corporate politicians and your average voter. But this binary thinking has been no more prevalent than in this war in Ukraine. Um, I don't know of a single person that would say Vladimir Putin is doing a good thing. Most people don't say that. But because of that, people think, well, Ukraine has obviously got to be good because if Vladimir Putin's bad, their narrative is always good guy versus bad guy. Why can't it be bad guy versus bad guy? I'm not saying that's the way it is, but that is a possibility, right? And I've been saying this for a while because Ukraine has been notorious for corruption. Um, and this was also evident in World War II because Russia or the USSR helped defeat Hitler. You don't hear a lot about that because they were also bad, right? But that doesn't fit into the narrative of good guys versus bad guys. So the world's often more complicated uh, than we allow it to be in our minds. But I want to show you guys this article here that really lays out um, what's going on in Ukraine. Okay, so top of the article here, and I'll link it in the description. Ukraine rocked by corruption scandal. Wave of top officials resign. Sports cars, mansions, luxury vacations as people suffered. hmm. You know, one tenet, and this is why corruption is so important to stamp out in your country. One tenet of almost, it's ubiquitous in almost every third world country, corruption. The government is extremely corrupt. So if there's any like ability or that people try to grow through economic means, exports, etc. They're always these corrupt politicians are taking a cut, right? So they can never really help themselves with these corrupt politicians in charge. And this is endemic in almost every third world country, and it's definitely endemic in Ukraine. So, reading from the article here, the Ukrainian government on Tuesday confirmed that the resignation of multiple high ranking officials amid large scale corruption allegations in what's been called the biggest mass resignation and graft scandal. I think they meant grift scandal since the Russian invasion began, ranging from bribery to mismanagement of aid funds. I wonder who's sending those. For purchasing food to embezzlement to driving expensive cars while common people suffer under wartime conditions. Hmm. A top presidential advisor and four deputy ministers these two among these two defense officials along with five regional governors were forced out of their post, and among the regional governors to step down including officials overseeing regions which have seen intense fighting. Who would have guessed? Who would have guessed? Okay. And separately, the defense ministry earlier announced the resignation of Deputy Minister Vladimir Shapovalov. Yeah, I tried. Who was in charge of the Army logistical support on the heels of accusation he was signing food contracts at inflated prices. He purchased military rations at inflated prices in what appears to be a scheme to line the pockets of contractors and potentially involving kickbacks for himself. A thing that doesn't exist in the good old US of A, right? Um, this is just on another level. Sick because they're in the midst of a war. And you're going to see this across Western media, and a lot of Western media, by the way, is saying racked by or rocked by accusations. And I won't tell you what they are. The reason being is your average person who is giving aid to a country where that aid is being potentially siphoned off and used to enrich corrupt politicians aren't big fans of that. further reading here. And all these pictures are from these deputy ministers driving these cars and these fancy houses and all that. There's a deputy head of the Zelensky administration, last name Timoshenko, who stands accused of living a lavish wartime lifestyle. Many current mainstream media reports on Tuesday are burying some of the key verified details. For example, BBC writes, simply, Timoshenko was implicated in several scandals during his tenure, including in October last year, when he was accused of using a car donated to Ukraine for humanitarian purposes. So they're accusing him of one of the many things, or they're writing about one of the many things he's accused of, using a car for personal purposes that was donated for humanitarian aid. You'll see in these pictures. It ain't just that, okay? But starting in early December, local Ukrainian outlets, angered at the posh lifestyle of the Ukrainian leaders at the moment, tens of millions are without power amid Russian aerial bombardment of the nation's power grid, began confirming that Timoshenko drove high-end sports cars in and out of the capital, to and from his mansions, which typically range in a cost from $10,000 to $25,000 per month. That would be mansions plural. Here's him in his Porsche Taycan. Taycan? I don't know how to say that. Here's his lovely house, probably in the safest part of the country. As other examples of Western mainstream media seeking to downplay or soften the latest wave of graft-related forced resignations, the AFP writes, Ukraine has long suffered endemic corruption, including among the political elite, but efforts to stamp out that graft have been overshadowed by Moscow's full-scale war that began in February. You can put the pieces together, okay? Corruption run amok, okay? I'm not saying the Ukrainian people aren't suffering. I'm not saying I stand like the Ukrainian people is who I care about, not corrupt politicians, right? It's sick. Okay. Further reading, it doesn't stop at posh, expensive cars, but the controversy has been extended to luxury vacations abroad as Ukrainians suffer the deprivations of war at home. What? The departure of Simonenko, I should get better at pronouncing these names. A deputy prosecutor general comes after media reports he spent holiday in Spain this winter, reportedly using a car belonging to the Ukrainian businessman. The government has, as a result, now reportedly barred top officials from vacationing abroad as a result of the scandal. Just prior to the wave of resignations, another official named Lazazinski was accused of receiving bribes to facilitate the purchase of generators at a greatly hiked up price. Crucially, Lazazinski, a deputy minister of infrastructure and community development. So how much of foreign aid is being siphoned off to enrich corruption? I don't know. I really don't. But the narrative is not as simple as good guy and bad guy. That's what people want it to be because it is simple and it makes sense in their brain. But the Ukrainian people, I don't know if they've done anything wrong. I don't think they have. Civilians, no. But these politicians, they have long before this war kicked off, tons of corruption in that country. So to think, as billions of dollars flow through their hands, that it's not going to continue is naive or intentional. You can guess which one I think. All right. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. See you guys in the next one. Peace.